Hello, welcome to HBM's UFO Corner. And as promised, I'm going to be talking about Project Blue Book. Now, Project Blue Book was an agency headquartered at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, Ohio. From 1947 to 1969, the Air Force investigated unidentified flying objects under Project Blue Book. The project, headquartered at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, Ohio, was terminated December 17, 1969. Of a total of 12,618 sightings reported in Project Blue Book, 701 remained unidentified. The decision to discontinue UFO investigations was based on the evaluation of a report prepared by the University of Colorado entitled Scientific Study of Unidentified Flying Objects, a review of the University of Colorado's report by the National Academy of Sciences, previous UFOs and Air Force experience investigating UFO reports during 1940 and 1969. As a result of these investigations, studies and experience gained from investigating UFO reports since 1948, the conclusions of Project Blue Book were: no UFO reported, investigated, and evaluated by the Air Force was ever an indication of threat to our national security. There was no evidence submitted to or discovered by the Air Force that sightings categorized as unidentified represented technological developments or principles beyond the range of modern scientific knowledge, and there was no evidence indicating that sightings categorized as unidentified were extraterrestrial vehicles. Now, does this mean that the UFOs that were seen and experienced, especially by pilots, especially by Air Force pilots, who knew the difference between a plane and an unidentified flying object, you would think they would be the people who would know the difference. Now, there was an individual by the name of J. Allen Hynek, who was the scientist looking into UFOs. And I'll talk a little bit about him here in a second. J. Allen Hynek. American astronomer J. Allen Hynek is best known for investigations of unidentified flying objects and efforts to promote ufology as a legitimate scientific pursuit. Here's a photo of Dr. Hynek. 1910 to 1986. Who was J. Allen Hynek? J. Allen Hynek studied astronomy at the University of Chicago before joining the faculty at Ohio State University. In the late 1940s, he analyzed reports of unidentified aircraft sightings as a consultant to the U.S. Air Force's Project Sign. The following decade, he began conducting more thorough investigations under the umbrella of the renamed Project Blue Book, with his discoveries fueling a quest to turn the study of UFOs into a legitimate scientific practice. Hynek later founded the Center for UFO Studies and published multiple books on the subject. One of them introduced the Close Encounter classification of sightings, inspiring the Steven Spielberg film Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Born in Chicago, Illinois on May 1st, 1910. Introduction to the stars came after Hynek was bedridden with scarlet fever at age 7. Having run through their supply of children's books to read, his mom turned to textbooks, with a high school edition on astronomy capturing the boy's attention. Hynek excelled in math and became editor of his school paper in high school. By then, he had also developed an interest in more esoteric subjects, particularly the works of the Rosicrucian secret societies and Hermetic philosopher Rudolf Steiner. He earned his Bachelor of Science at the University of Chicago in 1931, but he remained at the school to pursue a doctorate in astronomy. And his graduate studies took him from the Yerkes Observatory at Wisconsin's Lake Geneva, where he recalled his focus on the cosmos left him largely in the dark about events like the rise of Adolf Hitler and Nazi Germany. It was an interstellar event that impacted his career. The appearance of the brilliant Nova Hercules in the night sky in late 1934 and he was tapped to take readings of the supernova at Ohio's Perkins Observatory, which was affiliated with Ohio State University. After earning his PhD, he joined Ohio State's Department of Physics and Astronomy in 1936. Signed in Project Blue Book. In 1948, astronomer Hynek, then director of Ohio State University's McMillan Observatory, agreed to help the U.S. Air Force investigate reports of unexplained aircraft sightings, including one that described the lightning-fast flying saucers above the Cascade Mountains in Washington. As the astronomical consultant on Project Sign, Hynek combed through the reports and sorted them into categories. There were those which were simply astronomical observations, like the appearance of a meteor, those explained by meteorology, like an unusually shaped cloud, and those which captured accounts of man-made objects, like balloons. They left about 20% with no clear explanation, though Hynek felt that answers would eventually surface and return to Ohio State. By 1952, with reports continuing to trickle in, the Air Force had rekindled the operation as Project Blue Book. Hynek was also back in the fold and now granted the license to investigate the alleged sightings in the field. While he had harbored plenty of skepticism the first time around, he found his assumptions challenged by the rational recollections of witnesses, and began thinking about the legitimate scientific study of these unidentified flying objects, or UFOs. In March of '66, Hynek was dispatched to investigate reports of unusual lights in separate areas of Michigan over successive nights. Rushed to conduct his findings amid a horde of reporters, the scientists soon announced that the sightings were possibly the result of swamp gas. The term became a national joke, but Michigan Congressman and House Minority Leader Gerald Ford wasn't laughing and demanded the Armed Services Committee pick up what he felt was a shoddy investigation. Called to testify, Hynek used the occasion to argue for an extensive, transparent study of UFOs, marking his first public break from the Air Force. So, Hynek was very, very careful about with his words. He was married twice. Died of a brain tumor April 27, 1986, at age 75. So he was just shy of his 76th birthday. He was a fascinating individual, much like Stanton Friedman. I needed a show about Stanton Friedman as well. That'll be a future show, by the way, about Stanton Friedman. But let's get back to Project Blue Book. Actually, let's get to Project Blue Book, the TV series. The 2019 to 2020 TV show, which was on History Channel. And I thought it was pretty well done. I thought it was a really good show. It's unfortunate it didn't last very long. You had actor Aidan Gillen as Dr. J. Allen Hynek, Michael Malarkey as Captain Michael Quinn. Also, well-known actor Neil McDonough played General James Harding on the show. I wish the show had lasted longer. It was loosely based on the real-life Project Blue Book. Captain Michael Quinn and Dr. Allen Hynek are tasked by the U.S. Air Force to investigate reports of UFOs and debunk them, or at least come up with rational explanations for them. While Quinn, a smooth and tough military type, at first doesn't care about anything other than doing the job he was given, the more skeptical Hynek quickly becomes convinced that some kind of deadly conspiracy is afoot. Meanwhile, as Cold War paranoia spreads among the population, a charismatic blonde with her own agenda befriends Hynek's lonely wife. Now, I'm not really sure if Captain Quinn was an actual person. I imagine he was. Let me look him up. Let's see. Captain Michael. Yeah, there we are. My Captain Michael Quinn. There we go. Pretty sure he was a real person. Let's see if there's anything about him. Let's see, I'm looking. I'm pretty sure he was a real person. I'm not sure if Michael Quinn was. I meant, well, probably was. Probably was his real name, Michael Quinn. The producer was Robert Zemeckis, well known, of course, for the Back to the Future trilogy and also Forrest Gump. Some of the characters were composites on the show, especially some of the generals. Obviously, they were composites, composite roles, as it were. I'll include this link below, of course. I'll include several links, obviously. I do miss the show, the show Project Blue Book. I wish it had lasted longer. I don't know why it didn't last but 2 seasons. Hmm. I guess that'll be another one of those mysteries, much like UFOs. And that's good to do it for this week. We want to thank you very much for tuning in. You guys are the heart of this show as well, of course, as HBM's Crypto Corner. And next week, I'm going to discuss well, no, wait a minute. Stanton Freeman will be a future show. Next week will be the Kecksburg UFO crash, Kecksburg, Pennsylvania, 1965. I'm going to be talking about Stan Gordon and his investigations into it. He is the most foremost investigator into the Kecksburg UFO crash. Of course, he's still living, so that's good. So until next week, y'all be good or be good at HBM's UFO Corner.